Cows are the reason why the weather is extremely hot right now. Believe it or not, cattle play a major part in the emissions of greenhouse gases. By burping and farting, which is a natural bodily output, they destroy the ozone layer. In today's speech, I will be discussing how cows contribute to the destruction of the ozone layer, what cows release in order to do so, the science behind such destruction, and possible solutions to help. Let's begin with the body paragraph. So, what cows release and how they contribute to the destruction of the ozone layer. Cows release CH4, which is methane, that happens during enteric fermentation in the decomposition of their manure. Manure here means their poop. Enteric fermentation is the digestion that happens in the abdomen of the cattle that forms the methane gas inside, which is the second most abundant greenhouse gas after carbon dioxide. So, according to the article titled Global Warming in Dairy Cattle, How to Control and Reduce Methane Emissions by Dovile Bacaninate, I won't pronounce the last names because it's kind of hard, Karina and Ramunes, ruminant livestock is expected to emit between 80 and 95 million tons of CH4 per year globally. That is a lot of CH4 and methane produced by cows that destruct the ozone layer. So that is a large amount considering its abundance in the atmosphere. Almost all methane is formed in rumen while using protective mechanisms and released by burping. That is taken away from the same article that I just cited right now. The methane stays in the atmosphere for a while, slowly creating a hole in the ozone layer that contributes to global warming. An article by P.W. Moe and H.F. Tyrrell titled Methane Production in Dairy Cows has experimental analysis in which the emissions of methane was measured based on each cattle's diet, including the measure of protein, concentrate, corn grain, barley, dried brewer and distiller grains, and wheat bran percentages. Chris, who is a researcher in this experiment, found a linear relationship between methane production and dry matter intake of cattle. This is also according to the article that I just cited right now by Moe and Tyrrell, titled Methane Production in Dairy Cows. So this means that the amount of dry matter increases the production of methane inside each cattle. On to the other topic, the science behind such destruction. How is methane produced by cows? It's not as complicated as one might think. Humans digest the food that they eat. Cows also digest the food that they eat, except that the fermentation happens inside the rumen, which is also the stomach. The fermentation produces methane. The other way methane is produced is from cows by their poop, known as manure, which I just explained recently. According to the Environmental Protection Agency's article titled How Does Anaerobic Digestion Work? This manure is decomposed in the soil by microorganisms and bacteria using anaerobic digestion. Anaerobic means without oxygen, so the decomposition happens without oxygen in the stomach. The oxygen is not present in the stomach. And this causes the methane to be produced as organic materials that are breaking down with no oxygen. What are the possible solutions to help? So it is said that the safety of feeding algae, based off of the article titled Global Warming in Dairy Cattle, How to Control and Reduce Methane Emissions by again Dovile, Karina, and Ramunes. It said that the safety of feeding algae containing bromoform to livestock must also be researched more closely. It is likely that the consumption of algae by cattle decreases CH4 production. The component algae bromoform has a methane reducing effect from 45% up to 99%. Based on the same article by Dovile, Karina, and Ramunes, bromoform can be excreted in urine and milk. Grain is another food that decreases CH4 production as methane reduces with a higher energy diet. However, The digestion of high fiber diets results in more methane release. Another possible solution would be the genetic selection of low methane emitting cows to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the dairy cattle, as some cows' diets are different from others, affecting the CH4 release. So livestock has its downsides as it produces methane, but to the end the speech on a good note, livestock can be a useful tool for managing or restoring grasslands, which is also taken from an article published in 1994 by Reed Noss titled Cows in Conservation Biology. So to conclude, cows destroy the ozone layer in slow but large amounts. And to review the points, cows release methane by burping, farting, and the anaerobic digestion in the soil. And a possible solution is to control the diets of the cows and feed them foods that are friendly and decrease the production of methane. So my final thought would be cows contribute to greenhouse gas emissions without even trying, which results in hotter weather since greenhouse gases trap the heat inside our atmosphere. So I will include a video that explains and visualizes how and what cows do and how they release methane. And I'll play it in the clip right now.
Cows burp and fart. A lot. And it's impacting climate change. Each of Earth's 1.6 billion cows releases about 100 kilograms of methane every year. This might not sound like much, but methane's effect on the climate is 23 times more than carbon dioxide. Methane traps in the heat of the sun and makes the whole planet warmer. So each cow's emissions are about the same as burning 1,000 liters of petrol every year. Cows are mostly responsible for 18% of the total greenhouse gases worldwide. That's more than the entire transportation sector put together. There's good news though. Methane only lasts for about 10 years in the atmosphere, unlike CO2, which can stick around for hundreds of years. So if we can find a way to get cows to produce less methane, then we would see a faster drop in global greenhouse gases. So should we eliminate the bovine threat? Not so fast. A Canadian farmer may have found the key. Joe Dorgan started feeding his cows seaweed as a way of cutting costs on his farm. He teamed up with a local researcher and found that his cows produced 20% less methane on the seaweed diet. Together, they tried other types of seaweed and found that a certain red seaweed called Asparagopsis taxiformis reduced the methane to nearly zero. This is a huge win in the battle against climate change. And if farmers start feeding their cows with a mixture of this seaweed, it would be like taking hundreds of millions of cars off the roads.